ever gonna keep me down.
You're the best around. Nothing's ever gonna keep me down.
You're the best around, and nothing's ever gonna keep me down.
Nerd is new sexy.
This is Wildfire One. Once again, this is episode 53 of Nerds is the New Sexy. Thanks for listening. As always, with me is
Gambit.
And with me also is
Your boy True.
You're my boy, True.
You're my boy, True. All right, guys.
That's
Today's
gonna be my thing now.
It will be your thing. Now and forever. Today's episode is, we're talking about what, Gambit?
We're talking about the Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off, my dick.
Or bikini area. It is bikini season, guys.
We're talking about the Karate Kid movies. They're amazing. They're absolutely wonderful. They're a piece of 80s nostalgia. Just absolutely wonderful, great movies that influenced a lot of martial artists. And it's just great one-liners. There's so many good one-liners in that movie. Ralph Macchio.
Pat, what the fuck's his name? Pat
Hold
Miyagi.
on.
Don't call me Miyagi. Something. He's dead now. I know that.
At least he didn't David Carradine himself.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
It's so wrong. It's so bad.
That went dark so bad, so quickly.
It did. That went bad so fast.
Something.
Pat Murata? I'm sorry, dude. And your first name's hard to pronounce, too. It's like Noriaki, some Japanese dude.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi. So there's a lot of awesome nostalgia to be had with the Karate Kid movies. I mean, come on. It came out when I was a kid, and every kid wanted to be the Karate Kid, right?
So let's start with where it all started, right? We're going to start off with the Karate Kid. It released in 1984. Honestly, that's the year I was born. So
I was born in '79, so I was a few years old. I can remember the reruns and how big it got.
I was still a twinkle in my father's eye.
I was doing the crane kick in my mom's belly, so I was influenced. No,
the basic story behind the Karate Kid. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so the basic Karate Kid premise pretty much is a very simple one. It's a kid who moves from New York City, and I actually think he's either from New York City or Jersey. Either way, he's a Guido. He's Italian. Whatever. He moves from New York.
What's the matter with you?
What's the matter with you? Hey, I'm doing karate here. I'm doing
here.
karate here.
I'm driving here.
So he moves from New York to California, and he's a moody little bitch of a teenager. He's all mad at his mom.
Pasadena, California.
Yeah, Pasadena. Yeah, actually,
Pasadena.
Which is really great that they did it in Pasadena, because there's so much about Pasadena that was very heavily martial arts influenced. For instance, as a lot of people know, I do martial arts. I got a black belt in American Kempo Karate. The original founder, Ed Parker, started his schools in Pasadena. You have Bruce Lee, who was really big in lived in Pasadena, I believe, for a little while, or at least the surrounding cities. I know he definitely lived in San Francisco. So anyway, so he moves out here, and it's this. And he's a high school kid, right? So and what a worse time to move. Take it from a Navy kid who moved around a lot. Moving anytime after middle school is kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
So he's got the very teenage angsty. I'm mad at my mom for getting a new job and making a better life for us.
What a
cunt.
This shitty California place.
Yeah, California.
And that's when California was nice. It was nicer than it is now.
I think if that movie was to take place nowadays, that kid would be dressed all in black clothing with the white makeup and.
My life sucks. I'm gonna be in a band that resembles The Cure.
Yes. So he moves to California, and he gets interested in a girl. Girl's ex-boyfriend's a martial art expert. Gets his ass beat on the beach. He takes martial arts lessons. He takes martial arts lessons to learn how to defend himself against this bully. And then we'll get more into detail. But that's basically the basic premise, right? So,
that's the premise. That's the premise that people want you to believe. But have you read the theories of the?
How Johnny's the good guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny is the good guy. We're gonna do it. So really, when you get down to it, it really comes down to this. He's a new kid, and it all starts with him trying to make friends. So he's at a beach party.
Playing
he's at
soccer,
a beach party. Playing soccer, yeah. He's at a beach party playing
that's where
soccer.
He's fucking up. He's playing the wrong sport.
Yeah, he's playing the wrong sport.
Doesn't he realize that's a Mexican sport, right? Where he got his ass kicked?
I don't know. True. Is that a thing? Is that
That is a world sport.
Goal!
So he's,
Oh
he's
man,
playing.
now I'm gonna have to rip off my shirt and do like a lap around the room, looking around, drop to my knees.
So no, he's on the beach. He's having a good time. He's playing soccer with his friends. In comes the love interest, this hot blonde, and she's gorgeous. He catches her eye, whatever. Introduce the protagonist, Johnny. Ex-degenerate bad boy of the '80s, riding a motorcycle and shit.
Sweep the leg, Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah, sweep the leg, Johnny. So he rides down, and you get a sense real quick. So Johnny and the girl, they start having a fight. Daniel's son is like, oh, dude, I'm gonna go stand up for this girl, and look all badass. Gets into a fight with Johnny and gets his ass obliterated.
Wait. Now, do you really think he did it just to look badass and impress her, or was he just being like chivalrous? What do you think?
Well, see, like honestly, when you get down to it, when you watch it, there is a bit of like chivalrous,
I think he's
obviously
chivalrous.
Yeah, Johnny and his girl are having a fight and they're having an argument, and Johnny kind of gets to be a little bit of a douchebag by grabbing her radio and like being like, no, I want to talk to you. Just look. I'm not saying what Johnny's doing right there is right or wrong, but what he's doing right there is like we've all been in that situation. You broke up with your ex, you want her back, you want to talk to her, she doesn't want to talk to you. So he does. Daniel's son's like, oh, dude, I'm gonna get in good with this girl and I'm gonna go save the day. White
so
knight.
You think he was trying to pound her snooch?
Oh, he was. Oh, dude, he wanted to pound that snooch all day.
For the record, True's always breaking hearts, not having his heart broke.
Well, what do you think, True? Do you think he did it as a chivalrous thing, or was he like just trying to pound the snooch?
Why not both?
Yeah, and the snooch's name is Allie.
Okay, Allie the snooch.
Yeah,
kind of a forgettable name.
Yeah, it is kind of a forgettable name, right? And I was right. He's moving from New Jersey. So anyways, him and Allie, he's pounding
if he's
snooch.
from New Jersey, there's the problem right there. How the fuck did he learn how to be chivalrous in New Jersey?
Does he wind up lifting up his shirt and saying, "We got a situation here"?
Yeah. So the first fight breaks out. Now, the fight isn't really like a fight. Like Johnny steps out of the way. Yeah, he steps out of the way. He steps out of the way again. Then Daniel sucker punches. Right? It's like 2 or 3 moves. Then Daniel sucker punches the guy when he's trying to talk to his friends, and then Johnny just lays him out with 2 beautiful fucking side kicks and a spinning kick and just lays him out.
So Daniel kind of deserved it.
Yeah, he
don't sucker punch. Well, the fight's over. If you can't hit the guy and he's just walking away, he was showing restraint, which
Yeah.
Martial arts isn't the art of killing or anything like that. It's
Yeah, so John and him getting in the first fight, whatever. He's getting bullied. The apartment complex that him and his mom live in, there's a handyman that lives there by Mr. Miyagi. Miyagi, he's awesome.
Miyagi.
Miyagi. He calls him Miyagi for a while. It's pretty hilarious that he just butchers his fucking name.
Who doesn't do that?
Yeah, 1984, Japanese names.
Super Asian names, dude, are hard to pronounce. So us round eyes, we'll just fuck them up all day.
Well, let's be fair. Let's honestly be fair to Japanese names. 1984. Fuck, anime was really not even making a boom over here yet. So you can forgive him for being an ignorant New Jersey teen with that Guido accent, calling him Miyagi, whatever. But then Mr. Miyagi, he sees him practicing karate, because Daniel's son is he first learns karate through a book.
Yeah,
you remember that
scene? The Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, like the Ninja Turtles. Remember that scene? He's sitting in his front room of his house practicing karate out of a book.
Kung Fu for Dummies and shit.
Yeah, basically. And Mr. Miyagi, I don't remember the whole scenario why he decides to teach him.
It's during the
It's after
Halloween
the Halloween
party.
Yeah, the Halloween party. So
because he takes off running.
He's getting bullied a lot. By these guys, and they're fucking with him pretty hardcore. And then he decides to be a dickhole, and Johnny's sitting in the bathroom rolling a spliff up, and then Daniel pours water all over him, tears ass. All the Cobra Kai guys go running after him. They jump him in a back alley, and then Mr. Miyagi comes out of fucking left field and fucking saves the day by beating the shit out of a bunch of teenagers, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. Whatever.
Mr. Miyagi was kung fu fighting.
Right, and then that's when he decides to teach him martial arts. And then here's the big kicker. This is, I think, what which really kind of fucked up the rest of the martial arts world forever. Mr. Miyagi decides to teach him karate, but he makes him do chores first, right? The first one, everybody knows it. It's wax on, wax off.
This all became a really big stereotype.
Aren't we forgetting the part where Danny was going to join the Cobra Kai gym, but saw Johnny training and was like, nope.
Yeah, that's right. Because he was.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, he did go into the Cobra Kai dojo. He first originally went to the Cobra Kai dojo, and it was just not the place for him because and that's where you get to know the instructor of the Cobra Kai dojo, Sensei Douchebaggery.
Yeah,
He's
but
a bit of a
he's an awesome douchebag. I got to admit, like.
Yeah, the actor. Yeah.
Oh, he played an amazing. You just loved to hate that guy.
Yeah, you really did. Like you really just did not like that guy at all. Because like you walk in, like when he's just standing there on the side of the class, he's like, "You show your enemy no mercy here on the streets or whatever." He's just like he's a total dickbag. Has no idea what martial arts is really about. Has some skill, obviously, because he's making high quality martial artists. But just a general douchebag about how we should treat our enemies and our friends and what martial arts is. And
Everyone's an enemy.
The path of the Asura or something like that. The ones that are just the bloody fists or something.
yeah, I think that's what he follows. But I don't know if it really goes into. It doesn't even really go into what karate style Cobra Kai even is. It's just a non-generic stand-up.
No, I meant the term for the martial artist that just wants to kill and all that other stuff. Isn't that like an Asura or something? I'm blanking on my pop culture with that.
You are wrong. You make mistake. We fight under douchebaggery skill. Ha!
Yeah, John Kreese. What's crazy? Well, see, here's the thing about John Kreese though. There's an aspect to John Kreese that we kind of forget and we kind of overlook, and that was John Kreese is and it's only very quickly if you're a really big fan of the movie, and it kind of explains his mentality a little bit. Is he was Special Forces
military,
Vietnam
right?
veteran. Yeah. So you gotta understand, like Vietnam, Green Beret, living in the bush, like this guy.
He was born to be a badass. He was reborn a badass in the military.
You know, so he's probably got a screw loose. You know,
and it's funny because True just said he was chuckling about you saying living in the bush, and I was just thinking to myself, you know what's funny is it was the '80s. There were plenty of bushes to live in.
Get deep in that bush. No, but like. No, see, that's one of those things where I want to pause. I really want to pause on this because, like, John Kreese really isn't a bad guy when you think about it. Like, if you really think about, like, he probably has PTSD. He's probably not thinking about training. He probably trained being Special Forces. He probably was a drill sergeant in the military. So he's probably one of those wound-up dudes, you know, discipline is everything, respect is everything.
Well, maybe he went to martial arts, a little bit of martial arts afterwards to kind of, like, quell that, you know, what do I do next? Because, you know, a lot of guys go to the military and they're like, well, what now? You know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he did. I'm going, and that's speculation, you know. That
I mean, yeah, it's all speculation, but it's just one of those little facets of the character that a lot of people overlook that I really like to like kind of dwell on a little bit to kind of get to know the guy.
Yeah.
You know, because I like to get to know my bad guy.
Why does he act that way? Is there a reason for it, or is he just a douche?
Yeah, like and when you really get down to it, when you really start like overanalyzing like I do, being a super nerd, right? You kind of look at John Kreese and being like, oh, dude, you just need some therapy. Like
super nerd.
This bitch needs some Xanax.
Yeah, this dude needs a whole lot of Xanax and calm down a little bit, you know, because that's not what martial art is, you know. But you kind of start to understand him a little bit, and it's just such a, like I said, I would really love a John Kreese story where they go into him more, where he learned his martial art.
That would be badass.
Did he learn it in Vietnam? Did he make his own style? I mean, obviously this is a franchise, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and speaking of the franchise, if you look at it from the first movie and you only watch the first movie, yeah, I could see that interest. But then you think about the third movie and when he makes his appearance in the third movie.
He didn't learn anything. He didn't learn anything, but we'll get to that.
He kind of just seemed like he just honestly seems like a douche at that point.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But when you really watch, because like there was no expectations for sequels, you know, especially in the 80s. You know, like when you purely watch the first movie, you're kind of like, oh my god, this guy's he's a hard ass. He's kind of a douchebag. You know, 20 years, guys, martial artist. When I see guys like this, and I've met guys like John Kreese, I've met instructors like them. You know, I met an instructor once that would, if you crossed your arms standing, he took it as disrespect, and that you were challenging him to a fight and would just start fighting you right there in the gym. You know, and I've met instructors like that. You know, I've met instructors who are like all about respect. Like if you're not on time, don't even bother showing up to class. If your gi is dirty, don't even bother showing up to class.
Look, that's actually respectable.
Yeah, and that's kind of what goes into it. And again, it's just one of those things where I get really into it especially when it comes to martial art movies and the underdog being the nerd and stuff like that. And then it's also, you get into like the contrast of John Kreese, you know, hard, pain is your friend, pain is your ally, we're gonna destroy our enemies, kind of martial art instructor, to Mr. Miyagi, who's kind of like, hey man, let's smoke a blunt and you're gonna do some chores around my house.
underage drinking here and there.
Yeah.
And so let's be honest. It was it was a little racy too at one point. Because he's Asian, he knows martial arts better than the white guy.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there was always in the '80s, especially, and I've experienced this now. When I opened up my first martial arts school, people would walk in and be like, and like everybody still kind of has that mindset of like they want to learn from that old wise Asian dude.
And this is gonna go off a little topic here, just speaking of martial arts scenes and movies and masters and all that. Who wouldn't want like Pai Mei as their master?
That way you can, when you're like a fucking triple black belt at shit, you can be like, I learned from an old Asian man with a long beard, and every time I fucked up, he hit me with a bamboo stick.
Yeah,
and that's in the nuts, and he laughs about it.
Yeah, well, and it was funny that you mentioned the bamboo stick hitting. The martial arts, when it first came out, was a very hard, strict style. There was a lot of instructors like that. And the funny thing is, again, when we get into the whole Asian thing and the white guy, the stereotype, that whole thing, you got to remember what made Bruce Lee so popular and so famous is that he teach Guai Lo.
Yeah.
He teached the outsiders. He teached anybody who wasn't Chinese. And now karate is a Japanese martial art. Chinese is got Wang Chun, stuff like that. That's what made him so popular. Is in the 60s and 70s when Bruce Lee started getting really famous, it was still very hard as a white dude to learn martial arts because you had to do it twice as better. And in the 80s, that kind of started going away with like Chuck Norris winning.
Yeah, unless your name was Chuck fucking Norris.
Yeah, honestly, Chuck Norris made it more acceptable for like the Guai Lo to learn, for white dudes to learn, not only to learn, but be a badass. Because I believe it was Chuck Norris who was the first white world champion in karate. So the 80s, so you saw that Asian stereotype of you always want to learn from the fucking Asian dude, but then that's where Mr. Miyagi comes in. And again, so you had this contrast of a traditional school, martial art mats, mirrors, all that good stuff. What you'd expect when you walk into a martial arts school. Then you got Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi, you got to admit, he's the character himself, rather. He's kind of one of those, as an old rocker kind of strange teacher. Like you can tell he wants to teach the right way, but he's still like, he's like that father figure that doesn't give a fuck.
But also on top of that, Mr. Miyagi, again, since we're talking about John Kreese's war background, Mr. Miyagi was in World War II. He was and they go into it in both the first one and the third one. They talk about it, his war record, that and not only did he fight in World War II, and you're kind of thinking, oh, he's from Okinawa, Japan, he probably fought against us. No, he fought for America. Yeah. So here you have this stark contrast again, this light, this dark, this yin-yang kind of concept of John Kreese being, traditional martial arts, hard, mean, kind of a bastard, and then you got Mr. Miyagi, who is like light. I'm going to teach you chores, and I'm going to teach you this is all about self-defense and the more spiritual aspect of it. And then you get into the war complexes where John Kreese's ex-special forces kill, and Mr. Miyagi's like, no, I've been to war. It's terrible. Nobody should do this.
War.
But it's funny because by the end of everything, all of Daniel-san's fucking training, he pretty much built Miyagi a new house. I'm over-exaggerating, but you get the idea.
No, he did, because the first scene comes out, and the first scene says, I promise to teach you martial arts, and you will do everything I say without question. Deal? And then Daniel-san unknowingly is like, deal, got this, awesome. I'm so pumped. He's like ready to throw punches and throw like jump spinning roundhouse kicks, and like he's ready to be a badass. And then Mr. Miyagi's like, all right, first step, wash all my cars.
Yeah.
And he had a fuck ton of cars.
You're like, no, wax on,
wax off. And that became the most famous thing ever. But the chores became wax on, wax off, paint the fence, sand the floor, and then paint the house.
Catch the fly.
Well, Catch the Fly was a little bit later. I think that was in the second or third one. I think it was in the it was in the first.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 4 chores were wax on, wax off, sand the floor, paint the house, paint the fence. So you're right. He basically built his fucking house. So you got Daniel-san like doing all these chores and feeling like a little house bitch and not learning anything. And realistically, when you're watching a movie, you're kind of like, yeah, he's not teaching him shit for martial arts.
There's a method behind the madness, though.
And there is, and then it comes up with that great scene where Daniel just freaks out and is like, what am I doing here? You got me standing here. And he's like, show me sand the floor. And he like goes to bend down and he's like, no. And he like smacks him, which is fucking hilarious. And he does stand the floor. He does the motion and he throws a kick and he blocks the kick. Then he does wax on, wax off, blocks a punch, paint the fence, blocks another punch, blocks a low kick, side to side. And all of a sudden, and then he's like, and then Mr. Miyagi goes, Good. Screams and like throws a shit ton of fucking attacks at him, and he just starts blocking all the fucking. He blocks everything with all the like the drills.
So let that be a lesson to everybody. You can learn fucking martial arts with everyday shit. So go clean your toilet. You'll learn a martial art. Just so you know.
Or better yet, if you want to be a famous singer, learn how to like mop up grease, and you'll be like Axl Rose when he's singing.
You know what's really funny is even I took a page out of Mr. Miyagi's book. When I used to teach little kids how to do a proper downward block, and I'll film this later on for you guys who are listening just to see this. When I used to teach kids how to do a proper downward block with the filler block, it's like the circular motion. What I would have them do for a while is unfold pants. Unfold pants. I swear to God, I would teach kids. I would have kids. I'd walk up to kids and I'd be like, "Here's the gi pants would be inside out," and I'd be like, "Turn these pants the right side out," and the kids would do it. And I'd be like, "All right, do it over and over and over and over and over and over again." And again, I'll put it on video on Facebook on our page just to show you guys what I'm talking about. And then I'd be like, "All right, now drop the pants, do it again." And then all of a sudden they would do this perfect downward block the way they're supposed to do it. And I'm like, unfold the pants. And that's my Mr. Miyagi moment, you know?
And there was a method.
Do you say it with the accent and everything like that too?
Yeah, I wish I could do it. Like, show me fold the pants.
Unfold the pants.
Unfold the pants.
Show me run from me now.
So there's a like as a martial art instructor, there's a beautiful thing in that, and there's a beautiful lesson where it's people learn differently. Right? Everybody learns differently. Some people learn visually. Some people learn by repetition. Some people learn by reading it. Some people need analogies to make something click, you know? And what Mr. Miyagi's doing is making Daniel-san practice these motions over and over and over till they're burned into his head, because literally every chore took him like days to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, each one was like, I know Paint the House was literally like a 2-day event. I know, same with Paint the Fence. Same with fucking Wax On, Wax Off was 1 day.
The floors and shit.
What's kind of funny is when after he's doing those exercises, I think it's like after the first Wax On, Wax Off, or maybe he's standing on the floor, you see him gripping his arms like, damn, I'm sore.
Yeah,
and it's all
like
that. It's all
like
those
it was a lot of work.
Pop. Yeah, that's another great thing too, because that's building muscle in the shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's building shoulder muscle, it's building chest muscles, it's building bicep muscle. Now, granted, one of the biggest problems I have with the Karate Kid, and we'll talk about that later, is out of 3 movies, fucking Ralph Macchio never. Size. Well, no, not only does he stay the same size, but the actor never bothered to actually learn fucking martial arts.
Yeah.
Wasn't he also like 20-something when he filmed The Karate Kid? He also was a goofy-looking guy, too.
Yes, he was goofy-looking.
He was actually 23 when the movie was released. So at the time the movie was being filmed, he was probably 22. But no, you guys bring up a good point, and that is that you got Johnny, right? Who was like literally an Adonis of a male. Like he was like that guy in high school who was like lifting weights and like, dude, like why are you this ripped when you're like 15? Like what the fuck are you doing?
It comes back to the Revenge of the Nerds, bro.
Yeah. And here you got Ralph Macchio, who's kind of a skinny, kind of nerdy, like he's very thin, very, very lanky, kind of awkward, can't really stand or walk right. I mean, like kind of goofy kid, you know. And that's
and if Ralph Macchio ever winds up listening to this, we're not making funny. We're just describing the archetypes of what was going on.
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, Ralph Macchio cast as the first. Like in the first Karate Kid, was a great casting choice. He he perfectly portrayed that whiny teenager who was not very self-confident. And there's a thing, and I've seen guys like this all the time. And again, I've seen guys like this all the time in martial arts who just are really gung-ho about learning. And he really was all about learning the art.
His character, but he's doing it for the wrong reasons.
And he was doing it for the wrong reasons. And you know what the beautiful thing about Mr. Miyagi is he saw that. Mr. Miyagi saw that and was trying to gear him away from that, like
father figure, like I said.
Yeah, and he really was. And obviously, you know, Ralph Macchio, you know, Daniel's son, his character didn't have a dad. You know, his mom was a single mom. You know, so he didn't have and we come to find out that fucking Mr. Miyagi's son and wife died in the war, which is incredibly fucking sad. So he's learning all the defensive stuff. Then he starts teaching him how to like throw punches and stuff like that. And then he's still getting into fights. Like they're still picking on him, right? Yeah. So Mr. Miyagi and Danielson go down to Cobra Kai, and they make a deal that, like, you know, and he literally says, "I come to ask to leave boy alone." And he's like, "Oh, you're going to come fight your battles for him?" John Kreese is being an asshole, and he's like, "I tell you what, not here. Let's not fight in the streets. Let's do it at a martial art competition, right? Let's do this at a sanctioned event." Which,
if you think about, that's actually kind of an honorable thing right there.
It actually kind of is.
Well, yeah,
let's not kick each other's ass for no reason. Let's do it in front of a crowd in the honorable sense rather than just no holds barred. Let's kill each other.
Yeah. So
he says to leave the boy alone so he can train.
Exactly.
And then okay, no one touched the princess.
Yeah, the prima donna. Yeah, he says that. Nobody touched the prima donna. Is that understood? Yes, that's right. Then you got the training montage all the while he's trying to court this bitch, Allie. Another great scene in the movie, which I think is just a total father figure. His first date with Allie, he gives him a car. He tells Daniel, pick your favorite car.
Yeah, well, all the cars that he washed and scrubbed down. And
yeah.
He's like, pick one.
And he can't seem to get the clutch right on it.
Yeah, it was. And so you got the relationship building up. He's getting more confidence. He's getting the girl. Then there's that famous beach scene, right?
Oh yeah.
Daniel-san's training in the waves, which again is another just brilliant metaphor for training, and that is what Mr. Miyagi is trying to teach him is balance. If you can stay standing while waves are crashing on you, when a punch is coming at you, you can stay standing. And then Daniel-san looks over.
You can dodge a ball.
You can dodge a ball. And then Daniel-san, peers over at Mr. Miyagi, and he's doing the crane kick on a log, which is
while the sun's setting and
the sun's setting and all that.
Beautiful. It's beautiful, typical 80s movie style shit.
And he's doing that crane kick and then he says that very dumb line, which is proven to be false later on, which is like, what was that? That was crane kick. Is it good? When done correctly, no can defend. Which is bullshit. Let's be honest.
He's just giving him some confidence. This
is
the one move no one will ever be able to beat you with.
I also liked how Mr. Miyagi was also kind of playful with Danny.
Yeah.
They're on the boat and he starts rocking it when he's trying to balance, and he's
he falls
you
in.
look right behind the ears.
And what's crazy is that there's that great scene where there's the guys on the car, and they got the beer bottles, and he's like, move your beer bottles yourself, and he's like, whatcha? And he chops through the beer bottles. I was like, yeah, it's pretty badass. But that kind of harkens back. We were talking about martial arts stereotypes, right? In the 80s and the 70s and the 80s, there was always this mythos, the death touch. Yeah, every martial arts got the secret move that can't be. And look, man, 20 years of doing this shit, man. Every move works and every move doesn't work.
It's just how when you execute.
Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah, very true.
Even Mike Tyson.
See, now I have some background in not necessarily martial arts, but with boxing. It's kind of interesting to hear it from a martial art standpoint, and then me thinking about how some of the boxing stuff that I was doing.
Like you said, there's always a plan to get punched in the face or kicked in the nuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, unless you're Paime.
And then you get this very stereotypical 80s montage. Even Rocky had a montage. Montage! With every shot, so a little bit better.
I just realized that the crane kick was pretty much Daniel-san's Kamehameha.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. He's like, I teach you move. What move? This move, lots of chi. Crane kick!
So then you get obviously the montage moment. He's training, he's getting better, and here we go, right? And during his training, he gets injured, right? There's a scene where he gets injured, and Mr. Miyagi shows his magical touch. The blah, 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 the
where he puts his hands together and
he does it for him, and he heals him, and he shows him all that stuff. Yeah, he gives him a healing handy. And
back then they were a little more hands-on.
They were a little bit more hands-on, a little happy ending, no big deal. And then finally the day comes. We're at the martial art tournament. Daniel-san is going to be doing, that. He got him a gi and all that good stuff. And
what belt are you, son?
Black, of course. He gives him a black belt. And Mr. Miyagi steals a black belt. Let's not forget that Mr. Miyagi steals and forges paperwork for this tournament. Yep. Just saying. And
that's why I had to throw that line in there. I knew that someone was going to go black because that's exactly what he said.
And somehow, which is the most inconsistent, non-believable point of this movie, somehow Daniel-san makes it down to the finals with Johnny.
But not until after they play the best round.
Yeah, that was the montage there.
Well, and what's really funny is the sweep the leg moment was really good too, because it was one of the kids before Johnny. When he hurt Daniel, he was like, I'm so sorry. It wasn't
the semifinal.
Yeah, it was in the semifinals. It wasn't Johnny who swept the leg. It was the kid before him. So in the semifinals, he gets hurt. Mr. Miyagi miraculously heals him, and he comes up for the final, gets his ass beat. It's a real close game. And then he busts out that crane kick, and pow, winner, happy ending. He gets the girl, he gets the trophy, he gets the pussy. Mr. Miyagi, we did it! Mr. Miyagi,
and then Mr. Miyagi gives that head nod.
That head nod, that very Japanese approval head nod.
Yes.
It's
like the best moment of your life. Like, I've finally been approved. There's approval. He just nods at him, and it's great. Like
one of the crazy parts about that tournament, what I love about that is that's back in 1980, right? The 80s tournaments, a lot of people don't know this. You see it in the movie, that was a common thing. It was bare knuckle, no padding, and back then it was 3 points to win.
Yeah.
Because 3 points in the face with no padding is going to fuck your face up real quick. Now, here's the funny thing about that. In those old school martial arts, you were not allowed to kick to the head back then. You were only allowed to kick to the legs, the body, and strike to the face. So, like, punch to the face.
It was technically wrong.
That crane kick was completely fucking illegal.
Damn.
Completely illegal. It's the one thing and that's where we get into the Karate Kid being Johnny's the good guy. So I'll do it quick, right? So here we have you gotta remember, you gotta think of this. There's a great YouTube video. I'll throw it up on our Facebook page so you can watch the full video.
You gotta look at it from Johnny's perspective.
So you gotta look at it from Johnny's perspective. So here we got Johnny being introduced as a character, and what does he say was the first line out of Johnny's mouth? Hey, this is my senior year. I'm an ex-degenerate. So right there, he's admitting that he has had some problems, but he's not gonna be a degenerate. He even says that I'm an ex-degenerate. I'm going to make it all right for me this year. It's all going to work out for me this year. I'm going to be a good guy this year. He goes down to the beach to talk to his girlfriend, where he gets into an argument with his girlfriend. Now, what Johnny does with his girlfriend isn't acceptable, but it's no way a bad guy. And here comes this dick face out of left field picking a fight with Johnny. Johnny doesn't use any force. As a matter of fact, the first two moves Johnny does on him, he sidesteps out of the way and just trips Danielson. Then Daniel sucker punches him. At that point, Johnny puts him down fast and quick and doesn't do it with any kind of actual pain to Danielson other than loss of breath.
But it was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. Then you got Danielson running amok. Now, one of the best things that in this video that goes more into it, but I'm going to go, Danielson comes to the dojo. Now, how would you feel as a guy trying to get his life together to see the guy who interrupted you and your girlfriend having a conversation and picked a fight with you on the beach, then show up to your dojo?
That's insulting.
I'd be a little pissed, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a dick move, right?
Well, also Daniel's like the new kid in town. It could look like he's trying to make a name for himself.
Right. And then you got the Halloween party. Johnny wasn't picking on Daniel during the Halloween party. He didn't bother him at all. And again, Johnny was in the bathroom smoking a fucking blunt. It's actually in it. He's rolling a fucking blunt in the bathroom when Daniel pours water on him. He picks a fight with him. Like, he literally picks a fight. He instigates this fight. And then when Johnny chases him down, now I'm not saying that a 4-on-1 fight is fair by no means,
Did they all beat him up, or was it all of them fighting Miyagi? I thought Johnny beat him up.
I think it was just him and Johnny, actually. I think a couple of guys were holding him. I mean, at the end of the day, though,
it didn't seem fair.
It wasn't fair, but at the same time, was Danielson really in the right here? Not really. He was kind of being a dick face, Then out of nowhere comes this old guy who beats the shit out of all four of these kids because they're kids at this point. And then at that point, then when they make the deal, when they broker the deal, nobody touches the prima donna till the tournament, then Danielson walks around talking shit to everybody. Knowing he can't fight them, talk shit to everybody. So he's being a dick. Then he enters the tournament where they forge documents, steal a black belt, lie on the entry form, and then with no concept of the rules, endangers himself and every other person in that tournament.
And then he wins.
But he wins with an illegal fucking kick to the face.
With this,
not only
that.
Like the YouTube edit.
Well, the best part that shows that Johnny truly is the good guy is that when Johnny loses the tournament, no matter how you look at it, no matter if you want to look at it as Johnny is the good guy or Danielson is the good guy, when Johnny loses, he's the one who hands the trophy to Daniel and says, "Good job, good fight." If that's not good sportsmanship and humbleness, I don't know what is.
Gambit, you've studied most of your life. I remember when you were just getting into it when we were in high school, and when I was in high school, and I met your brother and stuff. Imagine you studied martial arts your whole life, and here comes a dude that's been doing it for 3 months, and he fucking wins. What would you think of that? Not just winning, but with an illegal kick.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I've come to kind of come to accept as a martial artist and that is as a fighter. I'll be honest, as a martial artist and a fighter, I'm decent. I'm like a 7 out of 10. I give myself like a 7 out of 10. Like I'm a very good stand-up fighter. I've had 3 MMA fights. I've had a bunch of jiu-jitsu fights. I was California Grand Champion, like Daniel-san. I was California Grand Champion 2 years running. Pat myself on the back. I'm really good at what I do.
Yeah, but with all the self-whoring you're doing right now, what I'm asking is, wouldn't people be pissed about?
Well, no, that's my point. That's my point. Is as good as I am, I've seen people who've come into the gym and just have natural talent, who just are just really good at this for no goddamn reason. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, my arrogance says that no guy who's only been training for like 3 months is going to beat me.
Let's face it, it might have been a little more. It might have been more than 3 months. I can't remember the time frame, but it wasn't over a year.
Yeah, no. So it's a little hard to believe that this guy with very little experience would beat him. I'm not saying that he wouldn't do very well in the tournament, but he definitely wouldn't have gotten as far as he did in the tournament. He definitely wouldn't have won. I'm just being honest. But I would be pissed. I would be pissed.
It was a good Cinderella story.
There's also that whole thing in the culture of sumo wrestling, the whole judges seppuku thing, where in the end it's the judge or the ref or whoever you want to call it. Their decision is final.
Yeah.
And as sumo wrestlers, if an illegal or if a bad call is made, they have to accept it. But if the judge realizes a bad call is made, that's why I don't know if they still do it, but I remember back when sumo was like the big thing, the judge used to carry a small katana, and if he made a bad judgment call, he would commit seppuku in the middle of the ring.
Jesus!
Oh yeah, back in the olden days. Oh yeah. Now see, and now as a martial artist, I've been to tournaments where I've seen guys, and I've been on the receiving end of this, especially during point sparring, which is what is in the Karate Kid. I've been on the receiving end where I've thrown a kick and I knew it missed, and the judge was like, "It landed, 2 points for red," and I'm like, "I didn't land that." And then I've had moments where the vice versa, where a guy throws a kick and it misses, and they're like, "Point over here," and I'm like, "That didn't even touch me." So. Referees are human. It's
all about perception where they're at. It might look like
it might look like it connects. It doesn't. Whatever. So you had this movie, right? Great Cinderella movie. It was a blockbuster success for the 80s at least. It was a great high school movie. And the second movie debuted 2 years later in 1986.
Sequel starts. They kind of continue right from that moment, and the sensei of Cobra Kai winds up confronting Mr. Miyagi, saying, "Oh, this is bullshit." Da 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 da.
John Kreese punched through 2 glass windows of car.
Now that's a badass.
Yeah, that's a badass right there. His knuckles are all fucked up, and Mr. Miyagi gets the best of him, and he's about to he's like, enemy deserves no mercy. And his hands up, and he's about to fucking chop him in the face, and you're just like, holy shit. And
that's
he goes,
part of the movie.
And he comes down and he goes, honk.
Right on the nose.
Right on the nose. He honks his nose. It's fucking hilarious.
The beauty of that part, the beauty of that honk scene is the face that the Cobra Kai guy makes. Like when he honks him on the nose, he looks like he's so fucking confused. Like, what the fuck are you doing to me? Why aren't you killing me?
So Karate Kid 2 ends up with they leave the tournament. Daniel-san's the victor. They go home. They're celebrating. Yada yada yada. Mr. Miyagi
Where
gets
did
a letter.
Ali go in that?
Well, that's why Ali's not in the second one, because she is in the beginning. In the beginning, she's walking out with him.
Well, doesn't he go to like Japan or an Asian land?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Is what happens is. Well, what happens is Mr. Miyagi gets a letter saying his father's dying.
Yeah.
So immediately, him and Daniel-san go to Japan. Like right then and there, they just fly out to fucking Japan, Okinawa to be specific.
Yeah.
And now, before we get really into the Karate Kid 2, I will say this. This is how much of a success the Karate Kid was. The production budget for Karate Kid was $8 million. Mm-hmm. Which was a lot of money back in 1984. Yeah. Its domestic box office was $90 million.
Yep. Well, that's over 10 times.
Just over 10 times, almost actually 11.2 if I'm actually right.
I'd say
it's a shame it wasn't over 9,000.
Yeah, it was definitely a box office smash. Definitely a number smash. So then we got number 2. Again, they're going to Japan. They show up in Okinawa. Obviously, it's a
man who will fight for Gambit's honor.
Yeah,
I'll be your hero, Gambit.
Will you?
Have.
I feel I'm getting a little wet over here. Like that's.
Well, that's why I was singing it.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little jealous.
I'll sing a song to you soon, True.
So number 2 starts out, and they go to Japan, and immediately when they land, there's this poster of this guy breaking a fucking like log.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's where that shit was. I remember it from the video game.
Yeah.
Oh God.
He's breaking this big ass fucking log, and he's like, "Who's this guy?" And he's like, "Oh, that's I'll have to look up his name." But comes to find out that it was Mr. Miyagi's training partner who was actually taught by his father. And what I love about this, the second one of the key things is in the first one he talks about like when Danielson asks him, "Where did you learn karate?" He goes, "Oh, my father taught me. His father taught him." That's kind of how it was. Back in Japan, they were
a very intimate thing.
It was a very intimate thing, and families passed it down. So it was a family martial art. They didn't get into the franchising until like the 70s and 80s of franchising and making money. It was like a family. Each family had a different martial arts and a different martial art.
You fight for the Miyagi Dojo.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, yeah, kind of. And so it comes to find out that here you got this guy who's awesome in fucking Okinawa, who is also trained by Mr. Miyagi's dad. Miyagi's dad is dying, and he's like, but there's some beef there that we don't know what's going on. And Danielson's kind of like the liaison to like finding out why beef's going on. And then,
he takes it upon himself, though, doesn't he? Like, he's like, he gets fucking nosy. He's like, I'm going to find out. I'm going to get all in Mr. Miyagi's business.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And
Miyagi's like, don't get involved, Daniel-san. No, don't get involved. He's like, fuck you, Miyagi.
But in true Karate Kid fashion, he finds a girl, apparently the only girl in Japan who could speak fucking English. But he finds...
She's instantly sexy at that point.
But he finds the girl, and obviously there's a love interest, and obviously there's just like... It's kind of the same story. The girl he's interested in is the son of the guy who is Mr. Miyagi's, like, guy, and there's all that drama.
Fiance kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of, and all that good stuff. So
you cannot stick your dick in my fiance.
Exactly, like you will not stick.
Only the tip.
Or the tip.
Only the tip.
Just the tip, just for a second, just to see how it feels.
No, she's pregnant.
The rival old man and the kid.
They hated each other. That's all I gotta say. Those two hated each other.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think I've only seen Karate Kid #2 like twice. So
I just remember that theme song because all of them had a theme song, and the second one was like Sato.
Sato was the old man who was Mr. Miyagi's rival, and the young kid was the girl was Kimoku, whatever her fucking name is, and Kimiko, and then Tashio was the bad guy. I don't know. I can't pronounce these fucking names because I'm white.
In the 80s, no one could pronounce those names.
You're right. The Mr. Miyagi storyline is pretty simple. It's basically that his old sweetheart and Sato and Mr. Miyagi have this love triangle.
It's projected to their quote-unquote offspring.
Right, basically. Well, kind of, and then Mr. Miyagi decided to leave to keep the peace in the village and all that stuff, and Sato is like, I still hate you.
While they were youngest, if they just had a three-way.
Yeah, it's not gay if it's in a three-way.
No, it's not.
As long as you don't make eye contact.
No, you can make it. No. You can do whatever you want in a three-way. Anything you want. When there's a honey in the middle.
There are 3 bro rules for a three-way. Okay?
I'm just saying though, if there's a girl in the bedroom with you, and you suck a dick, it's not gay. It was in a three-way. It's not gay.
There are 3 rules, guys.
There's another rule I got to throw in before you start. There is a 1 penis per fantasy rule, and that is of your own.
For those kinky nerds out there, there's a 3-way rule, okay? So say me and Gambit were having a 3-way with some chick and we're banging the hell out of her. There's three rules for the 3-way. These are called the bro rules. True.
Oh boy.
Just remember these. These are important. 1, don't talk to me. 2, don't touch me. 3, and this is the most important, guys. Don't look at me while I'm coming.
Wait. But there is an asterisk to the no touching rule. And that is, you are allowed to touch when you do the Eiffel Tower, when you high five your buddy to make the Eiffel Tower.
Or the Go Team Venture. Yeah.
Yeah, the Go Team, those 2 are fine. Anyways, so he's got this very triangle-esque 3-way. There's more drama to it than that. There's like Sato is like big and famous. He's a leader of the town. He's selling the town away. Basically, the most evil thing that you could have is corporate money and corporate greed. Yeah,
he was a douche. Yes, he was the Asian version of the first movie's bad guy, almost.
Yeah, basically, kind of, yeah. And then on top of that, but he's allowing Mr. Miyagi to be there just for his father. And he's like, well, once your father dies, And the whole plan was that when Mr. Miyagi's dad dies, that it was supposed to be Mr. Miyagi and Sato that were gonna fight. So the drum is Mr. Miyagi's new training technique. Which is actually a brilliant metaphor for using one's momentum. When you do a hook, you use your body weight to follow through, which then you use so if you start with your left hand, you go through, you hook, then you use your momentum to carry you back through the other side, and you go back and forth, right? Back and forth when you're doing punches, right? Pop, pop, pop. The love ceremony is that stupid tea ceremony, which let me rephrase that. The Japanese tea ceremony is not stupid. You know,
no, it's actually beautiful and amazing, and it's awesome. I've seen some.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ceremony, and if you ever get to be involved in that with a love of your life and you're Japanese, it's deep rooted into the culture of Japanese culture. It's very beautiful, but they do the Japanese tea ceremony, and
the guys eat the sushi off the person.
Right.
I like that one too.
But what happens is the big climax to change Sato's mind is this: a hurricane comes sweeping through Japan. It's huge. The whole village is in an uproar. It's like a typhoon. It's a tsunami coming through.
Yeah, it's a tsunami, right?
It's a tsunami. So everybody's trying to get down. The whole village is trying to get down to this like safety bunker, basically. Sato, Mr. Miyagi, everybody, the whole fucking village. Well, for some fucked off reason, the person who decided to warn the village by hitting the gong that was up this tower was a little girl. For some reason, you think they would have given that responsibility to, I don't know, a fucking adult?
I need an adult.
There's this great moment where the rival of Daniel-san, I can't remember his name, Taki or Tashi or whatever I said earlier, Toshi or whatever, the Tofu, whatever his fucking name is. So, him and Daniel-san are helping people get into the shelter. Well, there's a moment when the tower breaks around this little kid. It's this tragic moment. It's Mr. Miyagi, Daniel-san, and Sato. They all go out to save this little girl, but while they're saving the little girl, the thing crashes. Everybody's helping everybody get inside. The little girl is trapped up there. Daniel-san and the Tofu run out there to go save the little girl, but the boy backs off and scares off. Mr. Miyagi and Sato run out to help Daniel-san. They get the little girl safely back inside, but Sato gets trapped underneath a big pile of wood.
Yep.
That's when Daniel-san looks at Mr. Miyagi and Tofu, Tashi, whatever his fucking name is, and goes, "We gotta go save him." And he's like, "No, I can't go back out there." And he's freaking out because it's a huge storm. So Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi go out to go help Sato, and Sato makes that very Japanese line where, like, "You come to watch me die under this log," and Daniel-san's trying to lift it, and he can't lift this log. It's a big log. And finally, Mr. Miyagi's like, "You will not die here." And he's like, "Yeah!" And he, like, karate chops the fucking log open. Daniel-san picks up Sato. They get him back to the fucking bunker. He's thankful. Mr. Miyagi and him have this great moment. He hugs Daniel-san, then he looks at his student and says, "You're dead to me." Like, he disowns him.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's his son, and disowns him, which is like, man, he might as well have committed Harry right there, like, seppuku, trying to kill myself. Like, he was completely dishonored in front of the whole village.
That's what happens when you're a bitch.
That's what happens when you're a bitch. So
for listeners out there, don't be a bitch.
Don't be a bitch.
Lesson.
The moral of the story is don't be a bitch.
Yeah, so the story ends out happy times. Sato and Mr. Miyagi are friends again. Mr. Miyagi's old crush still loves him and never got married, so they're banging on the reg. Everybody's happy. They decide to have a lantern festival, right? It's some sort of big festival in the town. And during the lantern festival,
they're not dead, so they do a lantern festival.
Yeah, so everybody's happy and they're celebrating, which is cool. During this festival, the love interest of Daniel-san is doing this like fan dance and looking all sexy, and out of fucking left field, who comes like ziplining on a fucking lantern, comes the bad guy. He drops down.
He comes in like Lady Gaga at the fucking Super Bowl and shit.
Yeah, he comes ziplining in. He drops down. He puts a butterfly knife to her throat and was like, "I challenge you for my honor." Yeah, and and then obviously the climactic fight, which is a great line where Mr. Miyagi looks at Daniel-san and goes, "Hey, this is not a tournament.
This is for real."
And, again, it's a little campy, it's a little goofy, but, again, that's one of those things. When you practice martial arts, when you're in the dojo, there's a degree of safety. We take care of each other. We're not trying to hurt each other. When you do martial art competitions, you wear safety gear. There's rules. But when you do a street fight, there are no rules.
This podcast, no tournament. This is for real.
This is for real. Daniel-san and Tofu have this great fight. Daniel-san does the And Daniel-san does the drum technique and beats the fuck out of him. Happy day, he wins.
Everyone gets laid.
Everybody gets fucking laid. Except for Tofu. He's He's dead.
Did he die? He didn't die.
No, he didn't die.
He's just off in some corner, like really upset at himself.
Yeah.
Getting beaten by his father.
Here's what's really funny about 1 and 2, that when you look back on it as an adult and you watch it, you're like, Daniel-san left Pasadena 1 week after his martial art tournament, after getting a girlfriend, flies to Okinawa, and gets another girlfriend. He's kind of a scumbag. He's kind of a
goes to
fuckboy.
show you. No, this goes to show you, bro. If you're out of the area code, you're single.
It goes to show you that Danny really is the bad guy.
Yeah. It's not cheating if you're in a different area code, let alone a different state, let alone a different country. Well, not only does he cheat on Allie, but he falls in love with this Japanese bitch and then just leaves her like it's no big deal. He's like, all right, bitch, peace.
Well, that's the rule. 1 vagina per country, guys. I mean, that's fair, right?
Yeah, that's totally
Per country or is it per continent?
per country.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Let's see, what if he left Japan to go to China?
That's a different country, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. So let's segue on to the third movie, which is actually one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, so he comes back to Pasadena. Mr. Miyagi, they're back in town. John Kreese is ashamed, and his buddy comes in. Oh, what was his? Can
we ask the mystery first of this? Because I'm kind of curious. Whatever happened to Danny's mom?
Yeah, she disappeared.
Yeah, she's just gone.
She's like, peace out, bitches. I'm going back to fucking what?
I think they actually addressed that, isn't it? Like, yeah, she pieces it back out to like New York, and Daniel-san moves in with him, right?
I don't remember. That's what
I think they mentioned her at the beginning of the movie. They explained like briefly. It was like a
because there's
mom. Oh, she's gone.
Well, no, there's that great moment where like he's like, oh, I have to move, Mr. Miyagi, I'm gonna miss you, and he's like, and then Mr. Miyagi like opens up his like garage and like he turns it into a room for Daniel-san.
He's like, you no have to move. You live in one car.
Yeah. But
pick your car to live in.
Yeah. So now you got the third movie comes back, and the bad guy is again John Kreese, but with his partner.
It was his war buddy, right?
His war buddy. War buddies. Terry Silver. Yeah, but it was all this ruse, and he even tells John Kreese, like he tells him, he's like, no, I'm gonna befriend him, and then I'm gonna hurt him. And then I'm going to befriend him, and then I'm going to hurt him. And then I'm going to go to the tournament, and we're going to destroy him. Like, that was his plan. And it kind of goes out to that. Like, there's that great moment when he's first training with him, and he shows him that wooden dummy. And he has him, like, just punching wood and, like, kicking wood, and he's, like, fucking up his body. And, like, and I don't remember why Mr. Miyagi decides not to train him anymore. Oh, it's because Daniel-san wants to defend his – because Terry Silver convinces Daniel-san to defend his title in the next tournament – because he's the champion.
He fight someone and beat the shit out of him, and like in a fight, he used it to like hurt somebody.
Well, that's later. That's what's later. That's later on.
Yeah, but like, that's what made him like, I'm no longer going to teach you.
Yeah, kind of. And then it's like, and then Terry Silver comes around and is like, hey, you should redo the tournament. A champion's got to defend his belt. Yada yada yada. And he's kind of getting in his head a little bit, and he's trying to become his friend. And he is. At first, he's like this really cool guy that's giving him tips and like helping him out, and he's really nice to Mr. Miyagi. Like he shows up to this backyard and was like, oh, you were with the, and he like names his like army unit. And he's like, oh man, a bunch of Medal of Honors came out of there. You're an honor to meet, and like bows to him. And the whole time, Mr. Miyagi's like looking at him like, you're a dickbag, and I know it. Like he does, he sees right through it. Like he knows he's a fucking cock rocket.
Fucking Miyagi's all knowing, all powerful.
Yeah, he is.
So Terry Silver's plan was to convince Daniel-san to redo the tournament.
Yeah, and he keeps seeing.
And what he did was he hired the best martial artist in the country to come and challenge Daniel.
Yeah.
And this guy shows up and starts making Daniel's life a living hell. And at first, Daniel's like, no, I'm not signing up for the competition. I'm not signing up for the competition. And like he goes in, he wrecks Mr. Miyagi's bonsai plant shop. He's just basically being like a terror in Daniel's life. The whole time, Daniel's like, no, I'm not competing, all right? I'm not competing. And like he just keeps pushing it. And that's what gets into your favorite scene where Daniel wants to give Mr. Miyagi this bonsai tree on the side of a water fountain, on the side of a cliff. And so Daniel-san wants to dig it up, retrieve it, and that way Mr. Miyagi can sell it, and they can have enough money to run their bonsai tree business.
And there's cliffs and magic and stuff.
And there's
like that.
cliffs. And during the cliff scene, go ahead, Wild, you can explain that because it's your favorite scene.
Yeah, well, what they're doing is they're climbing. They're finally getting this tree, this little bonsai tree, and it's fucking amazing. because it's magic, and they're literally on the side of this cliff, like fucking spelunking and shit, right?
Yeah, because Allie teaches him how to like fucking rappel and shit. Or is it even Allie? Is it just some other white chick with blonde hair?
I think it's some other white chick. The guy just puts his dick in everything.
It's almost real magic.
Blue screen magic. I don't think it's Allie. I think it's some other chick. He's like,
I can't remember.
Daniel San's pretty much like the equivalent of a male slut.
Yeah, it is. It's a different girl. It's Jessica Andrews at this point.
Jesus.
Yeah, so Allie's gone. They never explained where the fuck she went, but he's just now
she heard about the Japanese bitch, and she's like, nah, we're not doing that.
Moral of the story, guys: if you want studying martial arts, you can get laid by anyone.
Yeah, Allie saw fucking his Facebook page of Daniel-san banging fucking the Japanese bitch, and she was like, "Why is this bitch liking your status, Daniel?"
Switching my relationship status to it's complicated.
Yeah, right. It's complicated. Which again, I didn't say this either, but Karate Kid 3 was then released in 1989. So yeah, it was 84. It was 84, 86, and 89.
So my favorite scene, of course, they're out there on this cliff, getting this bonsai tree for Mr. Miyagi, and it was really honestly it was Daniel's attempt to say I'm sorry to Miyagi because he knew he fucked up, and Miyagi was mad at him. So they're doing this, and moving forward, they're trying to get this bonsai tree, and then guess who shows up at the top, and they start fucking with the ropes, and they're saying, okay, if this doesn't happen, some harm's gonna come to your girl, which I mean, why does he care anyway? He's got 2 others on the fucking side, so
and probably like 5 others that are.
That we don't even know. So they're threatening her life, and he's like, no, I'll do it. And he finally fucking does it, and he goes up there, and they pretty much break the tree, and Miyagi kind of fixes it, and there's kind of
it's a metaphor for repairing the bonds.
It's a metaphor, yeah. It's a metaphor for repairing the bonds. Thank you, True. But anyway, that's my favorite scene because it's actually like Daniel San's most broken moment, because he's at this point he's actually kind of confident. He won all these fights, and this is a situation where it's almost he has no choice. You either
He's won all these
agree
fights in the course of like 3 weeks.
Yeah, you either
agree and he does. Not only does he break the fucking bonsai tree, but he throws it down down
to the ocean, like the salt water.
Yeah, the salt water, which will kill the roots of the fucking bonsai tree, basically killing the plant. Yeah, so they take it back. He apologizes, and Mr. Miyagi's like, no, it can be healed, it can be fixed. And Daniel-san flips out, and he's like, oh, but Mr. Miyagi, I also signed the tournament. I'm so sorry. He's like, and Mr. Miyagi's very disappointed. He's like, I'm not going to train you. He starts training with Terry Silver, and that's when he finally.
That's right.
That's when he finally like starts breaking the boards through, and there's that very dark scene where he shows up late at night to the dojo, the old Cobra Kai dojo.
Yeah.
And Daniel-san's like, hey, listen, I know I signed this. I know I've been training with you. I appreciate all the stuff you've been giving to me. He's like, Mr. Miyagi's really depressed. I'm not happy with this. This is just a bad situation all around. I'm out. And then that's when and Terry Silver's like, no, you're going to do this because I'm going to make you do it. And he's like, Terry, you can't make me do anything I don't want you to do. And Terry has that very sadistic, like, really good psycho laugh. Like, that actor has a very good psycho laugh.
This is where you see the dark side of Terry.
Of him, yeah. And it's a beautiful scene. And he goes, what do you mean I can't make you? I've been making you do things you don't want to do for the past, like, 2 months. Kicking woods, kicking through things. He's like, and he's just reminding him all the things that he's been making him do. And he's like, well respectfully with this, you're not going to make me do it. And as he's backing out, the bad guy, this is right behind him, and he goes, oh, and he gets startled, and he like scares away, and then like he's like backing up, and then all of a sudden John Kreese is behind him, and he's like, and then all the pieces fall into place that he was being played this whole time, and it was all this master plan.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun.
Isn't the master plan also like to open up Cobra Kai's all over the world?
All over the world. Just when it's the darkest, and just when you think Daniel-san is about to get his ass handed to him in the Cobra Kai old dojo.
Second best part of the movie.
Yeah, in walks fucking Mr. Miyagi. And Mr. Miyagi just cleans house. But Mr. Miyagi cleans house. He beats up the kid. He beats up John Kreese. Yeah, he beats and then he fights Terry Silver. He fights all 3 of them. He beats the shit out of all 3 of them. Then he fights Terry Silver, and he knocks him into a mirror. And when he knocks him in the mirror, that's when Terry Silver stands up and says, our plan is we're going to wipe your dojo off the face of the planet. We're going to make Cobra Kai a dojo because Terry Silver is like a billionaire, so he's going to make it all popular. But it all hinges on Daniel-san fighting in this tournament. So we fast forward to, again, the tournament. This year, because Daniel is the defending champion. He doesn't have to fight through the preliminary, so he has to only fight all the way up to – he only has to fight the championship rounds, which happens to be the bad guy. And then, again, like always, bad guy comes in. Now, this is a little bit more actual realistic than the first movie because Terry Silver tells him, what I want you to do is I want you to win a point, then I want you to purposely hurt him and lose a point. So do an illegal shot. So win a point, lose a point. Win a point, lose a point. Because all I want him to do is suffer, and I want everybody in this audience to see him lose. Then he's doing that. He's hurting him. He's taking a point away. And then because it's 0-0, then Danielson busts out this fucking move and wins the tournament. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, and it's nothing that he got, like, taught this time. It was completely out of nowhere. It was all the
Yeah, there wasn't nothing special. It wasn't a crane kick. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a solid martial art move, actually.
It was all under the tutelage of Terry Silver is why.
Yeah, but here's the funny part about that. And again, and why I think it's a little bit more realistic, because if that douchebag who's getting paid by Terry Silver just went out there just to win, he would have mopped the floor with Danny. Like, he would have won, hands down. He only lost because he decided to listen to Terry and win a point, lose a point, win a point, lose a point. And I'm sorry, but in a fight, I'm not going out there to try to lose.
So he ended up winning, and everything was happy. Everything was good. He got the blonde chick again, you know. And then we never saw Daniel-san again, I don't think.
No, actually, that was it.
He went off to make many babies with different women.
No, what happened to Daniel-san at that point is Daniel-san decided to start playing guitar and went down to the crossroads and played for this devil, and then decided to go to college, and on a road trip with his buddy gets arrested, and he's his cousin Vinny to get him out of jail.
Yeah.
Then he dies of syphilis.
Oh. That's it for this week's podcast. We're going to continue on next week with the next Karate Kid movies. We had 2 or 3 after this. All right, everyone, catch us next week on The Nerds, the New Sexy. We will continue on with the same topic. It'll be part B of episode 53. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
No, when done correctly, no can defend.
How about this? Just stay sexy, everyone.
Stay sexy, everybody.